Hello, this is Anil Haroon from Mark 16 Ministries, and this is my testimony, my life story. Now, I only have about 10 minutes here, so I'm going to kind of move very quickly, kind of try to fit it into 10 minutes for this first part. I would like to start off by talking about my upbringing. I was brought up in a Christian family. My mom was a very devout Christian. She had a lot of faith. She went to church regularly, and she was very serious about reading the Bible, very serious about following God. So that was the kind of environment I was brought up in. But I can remember from when I was young, I was never kind of forced to go to church or forced to pray or read the Bible. Or as an atheist would say, I wasn't forced to believe, or I wasn't indoctrinated with Christianity. My mom kind of didn't force it upon me. So even though I grew up in this kind of environment, I was never kind of forced or to believe or to go to church from a young age. But that kind of changed at the age of 10. My mom started going to a Protestant church. And it was about then that she really got big on this whole idea of the family going to church together as a family. And that's when she started forcing me to go to church, because she wanted the family to go together. So that was when me and my sister started going to church together. And that's the point basically where I was forced to go to church. And I would protest against it. I would hate church. I hated going to Sunday school. It was very boring for me. And I just hated it, told my mom I didn't want to go, but she would force me every Sunday over and over again. Now this continued for 3 years, and by this point I was completely against Christianity. I saw my mom praying, I saw my mom reading the Bible, I kind of saw people around me following God, but I thought there's no point to this. I can't see this God, I have never experienced this God, and I don't see the point of praying. It's just a useless practice. You're just wasting your breath. You're just wasting your time and energy praying. And I said, well, I can believe in God. I can believe in this Jesus Christ, but I don't have to pray. I don't have to, kind of be serious about this. I'm still going to go into heaven if I'm, believing what my mom believes. But by the age of 13, I completely started hating the idea of church. I just didn't like it at all. I was brought up in Pakistan. When I was 13, my family moved to Kenya. And my mom started going to a Baptist church. My family started going to a Baptist church. And by then I completely hated church. I completely denounced it. I said I didn't believe in God. And looking back on it now, at the time, I called myself an atheist, but I was an agnostic. I didn't know if God existed. I didn't see any proof for it. So I just didn't want to believe in it, because I didn't have any proof for God. So I just stopped going to church. My mom stopped forcing me, and the only times I would actually be forced to go to church is twice a year, during Christmas and Easter. And besides that, I would never go to church on a Sunday. So that's kind of how I ended up by the time I was 13, and that's kind of when other things started happening in my life. When I moved to Kenya, it was a very big change. I didn't have any friends. I had to sell in, but the problem is I didn't sell in. People at school would mock me because of my skin color, or they would make fun of me because of my accent, or how I spoke, or how I looked, or how my skin was of a darker color. And after September 11th, I would get bullied in school a lot. Even though kids knew I was from a Christian family, they would call me a bloody Muslim. They would call me a bloody terrorist, a bloody Paki. Yeah, all you Pakistanis are like this. You're bloody terrorists. All you bloody Muslims. And I wasn't even from a Muslim family. I wasn't even a Muslim, but I was still being blamed and kind of attacked for my heritage, for my skin color. And this really just devastated me. My self-esteem hit rock bottom. I stopped speaking out in public wherever there were too many people. I didn't like going out in public. I started to kind of doubt myself. I started to think that I was just ugly, or like I sounded horrible or I didn't have anything good to say. So whenever I was in public, I just didn't say anything to anyone. I kept quiet. I kept to myself. I didn't make any friends. I hated being out in front of too many people because I was always thinking about what they were thinking of me or what they were saying about me. I had this inferiority complex. I just hated myself. And this kind of escalated by the time I was 16. I had very few friends. I had a low self-confidence. I didn't believe in myself. So I kind of just didn't have any friends and was lonely, and I kind of started hating life. I was like, I'm of no worth to anyone. Why am I here? Why am I living? Why am I breathing? Why don't I just die? I'll be better off dead than alive, because when I'm alive I'm not worth anything to anyone. So I just hated myself for that. And by the time I turned 18, we moved to Canada, and this trend kind of continued. I didn't have any friends. I didn't speak out. I didn't open up to people. So I was just constantly alone, and I had this inferiority complex. And I would just live every day thinking, well, there's no point to me being alive. I'm better off dead. And this is around the time that my sister met a friend at school who took her to a youth group at our church. And I was once forced to come along. I went there to this youth group, and I saw people worshiping God. And I saw, people joyful, jumping. I saw how everybody was just open to this thing. But it was weird for me. I was like, these guys are crazy. Why are they jumping? There's no reason to jump for this God. And, I just hated youth group at that point. I thought it was boring. But for some reason, my mom kept pushing me to go to youth group. I didn't go to church on Sundays. I went to youth group on Fridays. But my mom just kept pushing me to go to youth group on Fridays because she knew that this was something I needed because of how my life was going. I was really bitter, angry, depressed, sad, suicidal, and I was just angry. I would just swear at everyone. I would swear at my mom. Every sentence I said to her, I would kind of, say in anger. I would swear at her. I would just not be polite with anyone. So that's kind of the person I turned into. I had no reason to live. I had no reason to be joyful or to act joyful towards others. Now this all kind of changed a year after I started going to church. During that year that I was going to church, I just didn't feel anything. I started to say, well, if there is a God, I'm saved. I'm a Christian. If Jesus Christ exists, I'm saved. But I never really encountered this God. I never really knew this God, and I was just going to church, just being bored. But I had made a couple of friends at church, so that's all I went to youth group for, to kind of socialize with a couple of friends. It didn't mean anything to me, and for a year, I kept on going. Now this clearly proves that if you're going to church, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a Christian or you've encountered God. You can go to church and still be very ignorant about it or be bored. Just because you're going to church doesn't mean you're a Christian or that you're saved or that you've known Jesus Christ personally. So I went to church for a year with this attitude, but that all began to change around May 2005, about 2 years ago, when we had a youth retreat, or what we call a youth encounter. And this is where my life changed. And I'm going to be talking more about that in the second part of this video. So just keep tuned.